and welcome to another fabulous episode of Thyroid Refresh TV, a podcast dedicated to helping you live a thyroid healthy lifestyle. We're so glad to be back with you again. I'm Dana Bowman.
And I'm Ginny Mahar, and we are the dynamic duo behind Thyroid Refresh and Thyroid 30. We're so thrilled to be here today with Dr. Sandra Scheinbaum to talk about the healthcare option you maybe didn't realize existed, health coaching. This is going to be a really exciting show, guys. We're going to cover what health coaches do and don't do, how it works, and what to expect. So welcome, Sandy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's just my pleasure to be here and talking with you.
Before we get started, I want to jump in and let everybody know a little bit about Dr. Sandra Scheinbaum, Sandy. She's passionate about transforming healthcare by training health coaches to integrate the positive psychology model of coaching with the functional medicine approach to reversing chronic illness. She founded the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy in collaboration with the Institute for Functional Medicine. She is an IFM Certified Practitioner and the author of Functional Medicine Coaching, Stop Panic Attacks in 10 Easy Steps, and How to Give Clients the Skills to Stop Panic Attacks. Her research study, Functional Medicine Coaching, A Path to Positive Health, was published in Chronicle of Advances in Positive Health and Wellbeing, and I had the pleasure of meeting Sandy this past summer, and so we are so glad. It was so great to meet you, and we're so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Yay.
I'm excited to talk with you. Thank you for that nice introduction.
We've been looking forward to it as well, because this is something that we're really curious about. And, you know, part of what we do for our community at Thyroid Refresh is we're always keeping our ear to the ground for what is new, what is working for people. And health coaching is a really exciting option that seems like it's starting to gain more and more traction. I'm a fan of Dr. Mark Hyman. I know he's been talking about that a lot. And he recently said if he were king for a day, he would hire thousands of health coaches and put them in every hospital. So I would love to just start with, you know, why is health coaching such a powerful tool?
Well, health coaching is powerful because it's really helping somebody to get from where they are to where they want to be. By having a health coach, you have your own personal cheerleader, and don't we all need one of those? So a health coach is there by your side to provide support, to provide education, but to help you stay inspired. So, most people don't keep their New Year's resolutions past, January 10th. And so with a health coach, they're going to be able to stick with those resolutions. And that's the beauty of it. So a health coach really focuses digging deep down to what truly matters. And it's completely client-centered. So you are in charge. Health coaches help people become basically the CEOs of their own health, empowered to make the changes that they want to take that path they want to take, not because some doctor or some article you read and you think you should do it or you have to do it.
Well, I love that. And that's what we're all about here and trying to help our community with. And so, it's empowering to think about having a one-on-one ally on this journey. And that's sort of how I imagine health coaching would be. Would you describe it that way?
Absolutely. The coach is your ally. The coach doesn't judge you, doesn't shame you, doesn't tell you what to do, but asks questions and first and foremost listens. So what we teach is that you bring three things to the table. And this comes from research in leadership development, Richard Boyatzis: mindfulness, hope, compassion. Resident leadership. And a coach can take the reins and be the leader, but that's how you do it. And so when you know that somebody is there to really listen, you feel heard, now that in itself is creating a healing response physiologically.
Mm.
Well, and we all know, what the conventional model is like for medicine and the doctors. And, we're supportive of doctors here. But, they really just don't have much time to be with you. They just don't. They weren't trained that way. They have like their clock running. It's like you have some people have 10, some people have 12, some people have 8. And so to have somebody that can spend more time with you and that kind of cares a little bit beyond what maybe a doctor might have the time for it's very empowering, and it's profound, because just think of all the people out there, right? Me, Jenny, if I'd have had somebody kind of holding my hand along the way, how much it would have changed, just even my outlook, right? I would have
Mhm.
felt more inspired and happier along this path, just happier because someone was kind of with me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and even just preparing for appointments, I think is a real necessity anymore because these doctors are seeing sometimes more than 20 patients a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when I was younger, I felt like I'm going to go into the doctor and they're just going to look into my eyes and be like, well, I
Yeah.
can see that you've got some real issues. And it's not like that. You really have to be looking at your test results and going in with bullet points and organized questions and issues. Have your thoughts organized about what's going on with me right now. That's a big priority, and I think that can be hard for people to kind of wrap their heads around. So
Yeah, because we're mostly trained to go to the doctor for a fix, a band-aid, as opposed to preventative. But I think that shift has happened. I think people are starting to realize, when they go to the doctor, they need to be more empowered, right?
Absolutely. And that is such a good point. So, a health coach can help somebody sort through all this information out there and also help that person to really speak up for themselves, to have those bullet points, to have things written down, specific questions. So, the time you have with your doctor, this is, the side effect I'm experiencing, or ask your doctor their thoughts about this. And I think you're also right. We don't want to diss doctors. We want a doctor. We want them to do what they do best, which is acute care
Mm-hmm.
medicine interventions. So you want that skilled surgeon. You want that skilled cardiologist when you're having a heart attack. You want to be in the emergency room getting the best of care. And what the coach is best at is those conditions that really are not best treated in a medical clinic, in a hospital. Conditions like type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, where they're treated outside of those places. They're treated in the community, where it's actually the individual that needs to make that decision. Okay, what should I have for dinner? How much should I eat? How do I control what I'm eating? How do I motivate myself, even though every day I think, oh, I'm going to go outside and take a walk. And then at the end of the day, I had so much to do, I don't do it. So that's where a coach can really be very, very helpful.
And that feels very important in our community as well, with so many people who are dealing with hypothyroidism. They're on supplemental thyroid hormone for various reasons, including thyroidectomy and things, and also a lot of autoimmune people in our community. Would you say that sort of falls into that realm of, conditions or diseases that requires that you really look at your whole life? I mean, that's what has been the key for Dana and I in reclaiming our health, is in addition to proper medical care and medication and all of that, to incorporate a more whole life, whole health approach. So is that something a health coach could help with?
So, absolutely. As somebody identifies priorities and is able to focus on questions like, what do you want your health for? Or if you had your health back, what what would it feel like? What would you like to do? What brings you the most joy? And then a coach can support somebody if they're saying, well, I really, if I had more energy, well, then let's look at ways, that you can do that. And they can show that individual some research studies, or they could say, listen to this podcast. It's got a lot of good information, or you'll feel like you're part of the community. Often coaches can lead groups and facilitate. So you get a bunch of people together because you may feel isolated. They think like, oh, am I the only one who feels this way? And the beauty of working with other people and just sharing stories and feeling like I'm not alone, or if this person can make those changes to their life. So we're talking about, not just eat this and not that, or get the right test or the right medication or supplements, but it's also how much sleep do you get? What's the quality of your relationships? Do you have relationships that are meaningful? Do you have meaning and purpose when you get up every day? And so how are you moving? So in addition to exercising, what about movements throughout the day? So all of those things a health coach can help them with, but it's really important to emphasize that it's not the coach's agenda. So I might come in, say I were a coach, and I might think, okay, everybody needs to be vegan. Because I'm a vegan,
Right.
or this particular, thyroid supplement worked for me, and therefore, everybody should be on it as an alternative to Synthroid, for example. So really appreciating that this is personalized, and it's not you as a coach that has the agenda, but it's really listening to the client. But the coach can really help somebody to understand and educate them. So coaches are not medical doctors. They do not diagnose, they not prescribe. They're not going to say, oh, I think based on what you're telling me, I think you might be hypothyroid. That would be out of the scope of practice of a coach. But they might give that individual some things to read, or saying, what are your thoughts about asking your doctor for these particular tests? And so they will guide them and provide them with articles, with resources, so that it's that individual that makes the decision, what's best for me.
Is there some growing data on how this can improve patient outcomes?
There is so much emerging research almost every day. I see a new study that comes out that shows, there was just another one from PubMed that looked at people these people had a pulmonary condition, and those who had a health coach did better. We at Functional Medicine Coaching Academy a couple of years ago did our own study, and these were people who were just starting out. So they were basically apprentice coaches. And in as little as 5 sessions, in functional medicine, we used to for functional medicine, there's something called a medical symptoms questionnaire. Their symptoms actually went down. There was also an increase in well-being as measured by a scale that assesses quality of life and well-being. So absolutely, it's really powerful when you have this ally, this personal cheerleader. And one of the things that a coach can do is help you to stay accountable, because we fall off the wagon. We might wake up every day, and I'm saying, okay, I'm not gonna eat as many nuts as I've been doing. And then you find, I'm just engaging in that same pattern again. So having somebody who will hold you accountable, that you need to report back. You're going to have another chat with your coach, and they're going to say, okay, last week you told me that you were going to only have a small handful of nuts because they didn't agree with you. How did you do on that? So that is really helpful to have that accountability.
I love just a moment ago when you were talking about supplements or what the coach could possibly do. But what you're saying is that what your training teaches is to be unbiased about their own personal experiences, their own supplements that they've used, that they can be open to anything and everything for the patient, correct?
Yes. So it's following the idea that it's like doing a dance, and the client is taking the lead. And so it's respecting bioindividuality and respecting choice. So that it might not be right, for somebody to, let's say, be paleo or keto. But often people come in, or they think when they come into training to be a coach, it's because they're really passionate and they feel better when they've been doing keto, and now they think, well, I'm going to teach people about keto, and they get really excited. And this can often happen at an unconscious level or through body language, where there's some judgment. If somebody says that they're a raw vegan as they're chatting with you, and so there might be facial expressions or change in your energy, and so the individual then picks up like, oh, like this person's judging me. And that's what we get all the time when we are seeing an expert. So there's a sense of being judged. That's why we know that people going to a doctor consistently underreport when you do these self-report questionnaires, like when they're doing nutrition studies. People aren't going to say that they had, the extra bagel. They'll say, I had one. They're not going to say I had two so they're going to forget about the pretzel that they had at the airport. And they may remember it, but they don't want to put it down because they're afraid they're going to be judged. And so in a relationship with a coach, there's that sense of you can be uncensored, that you're not going to be judged. In that respect, it's very much like psychotherapy. And actually coaching emerged from the world of psychology, specifically humanistic. So I was a former clinical psychologist way back in the late 70s. I was trained in humanistic psychotherapy, and that is client-centered, which was a shift away from a psychoanalytic model, for example, and very heavily focused on groups and people feeling like it's their journey. It's not the therapist. But so out of that humanistic, I was involved with some of the first people who developed coaching programs. And at that point, there was no health coaching. It was life coaching. Mid-career development was one from our executive coaching. And then kind of you think of health coaching as a spin-off from there. But the roots are still in humanistic psychotherapy. But a coach is not a therapist. So a coach doesn't engage in psychotherapy. They listen and they support somebody on a deep emotional level. But if somebody has a serious condition where they really need to do some deep work in psychotherapy, a coach would refer to a psychologist, social worker, or even psychiatrist if medication is warranted.
So your program really teaches the coaches exactly kind of how to be the best coach for, their patients, right? So it kind of takes out some of those possible bias, possible things that they might come into the coaching program with. It kind of helps them unlearn some of those things to help them get better.
Exactly. And perhaps the biggest place to unlearn is to understand where the health coach fits in the whole healthcare ecosystem. So even the word patient. So coaches don't have patients, they have clients. They don't even the reason for that is because a patient, it connotes that it is that you're a practitioner. Coaches are not healthcare providers. They are not practitioners. They don't have a state license to practice. If they are working for a doctor, and many we teach that model of being on a collaborative care team, and more clinics and doctors are hiring or referring to health coaches, and then they may talk to the doctor about their patient. And so that would be different. But we have some people who are very confused, and it's very confusing out there because coaches are also not nutritionists. They are not dietitians. They would not, if I was a health coach and you were my client, I would not say to you, here's a meal plan. Here's a diet that I have for you to help you lose weight. What they would do is listen to that individual. If they want to lose weight, then they would refer them to what the experts say. They would talk to them about what's worked in the past, and then that person would decide what's right. And sometimes in very complicated situations, if somebody has a lot of, or let's say it's a very complicated thyroid issue, you would have that person go back to the doctor and also bring in a nutritionist for a consultation to help them to make sure that nutritionally they have the right micro, macro nutrients in their diet, for example.
That's an interesting differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just listening to you thinking about the ideal healthcare, system, basically. And in my mind, the ideal healthcare system, it's more collaborative in working with not just your doctor, but a team, right? So your health coach, maybe your massage therapist, maybe a nutritionist, maybe even an acupuncturist, or all those people that come into your realm and can support you. Because one of the things we always say is it's amazing what you're capable of when you have the support you need. And even just having that person to listen and to always bounce ideas off of, and to say, this is what I'm struggling with, and this is where I found I have some just deep-seated challenges with making behavioral or lifestyle or dietary changes. And of course, and thinking about that ideal, that's what we want for everyone. But I have to ask on behalf of our listeners, who I know are out there thinking, okay, I've got, this thyroid condition, and I've already had to pay out of pocket for treatment that doesn't leave me wanting. I mean, we've had some challenges as a thyroid community in getting really the best treatment for us, ideal treatment, where people are talked to about different medication options, for example, or they're given a complete thyroid panel of tests, things like that, versus just, the standard of care is synthetic thyroid hormone plus TSH testing for anyone who's hypothyroid, and anything else is often, and I've heard this, it's all in your head. You're just getting older. It's eat less, exercise more. Whatever you're going through has nothing to do with your thyroid. So we've had to so many of us have had to go outside the realm, find, functional MDs or naturopaths, and then maybe even a holistic nutritionist, and then, a health coach on top of it. Is this something that's covered by insurance? Do you see it in the future being more likely to be covered by insurance? Is this can you talk to us a little bit about the real world aspect of applying this in our lives?
I'm excited and thrilled because as this has now been in 2020, January, they instituted CPT. So that is the procedure code. That is for it's called a category 3. What that means is if you go to your doctor, you get let's say a well child checkup. So there's a code for that. And so the biller in that doctor's office, your pediatrician, would mark that as that's what happened. And then you'd have a diagnosis. That's another code. So there is now, and those are called category 1. That means submit that to the insurance, and if you have health insurance, you would be reimbursed for many of these services. And with a category 3, which is now for both one-on-one health coaching or group health and wellness coaching. What category 3 means is that health coaching is on the radar. It's trending. So this comes from the American Medical Association. They've identified health coaching as an up and coming service, a very promising service, and they're going to be tracking it for a while to see how many people are using this code. So who can use this code? If you're a health coach out there, if you are board certified, this is very important. Just as when I was a clinical psychologist, I took a lot of insurance plans. I was licensed. I was a licensed clinical psychologist. So therefore, because I had my license, I could be on insurance panels, or I was able to bill insurance. So that is for health coaches. So now we have category 3. The thinking is that it'll be just a matter of time, can't say exactly when, that it'll be bumped up to category 1, which means it is reimbursable. So what is this all fitting in with board certification? Well, there is a national board for health and wellness coaching. And thanks to their wonderful efforts to put health coaching on the map, they are the gold standard. And that means that they're working with the AMA. They have an exam administered by the National Board of Medical Examiners. And so select schools can apply so that their graduates can sit for that exam. And I'm proud to say that Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, from the time that the national board came into being, we were approved. And so first they called it a transition, now it's full approval. That means our graduates can sit for that board exam to become board certified, and many other schools are as well. So if you are looking to become a health coach, that's the first thing you would want to make sure. You want to make sure, because increasingly board certification is important, not only for insurance, but also for getting hired. So to answer your question, yes, it is on the radar. There's something else as well, and that is groups. Groups are much more affordable, and I firmly believe more effective, because you have your community to support you. And so you may learn from a group, you may feel inspired. And the best thing about being in a group is it gives you an opportunity to share and support other people. And that goes a long, long way to fostering our well-being. And so by the possibility of insurance, and many doctors who take insurance are also finding ways that a health coach can be under their umbrella with a diagnosis that they can, through group medical visits, for example, remote patient monitoring. There are more and more ways that even like Medicare is actually practically mandating that the practitioner have a health coach, so that services can become more affordable, and people who are underserved by the medical community can have more opportunities to see health coaches. So it's a very, very exciting time for the growth of health coaching and making it more accessible.
Yeah, very cool. Well, and I think too, hey, next time you go to the doctor, ask them, hey, what's the possibility I could work with a health coach? They listen, and consumers drive the marketplace, and healthcare is part of that marketplace. The more we ask for these things, the more likely we are to get access to affordable healthcare, to access to insurance covered options that go beyond just I'm coming in with because I need antibiotics, or what I mean, something like where we really are getting into treating the whole patient. And that's very exciting to think about.
I love what you just said. And if I may just pick up on that, because if you are going to your doctor and you say, do you have a health coach that you refer to? Is there a health coach in the office? We have great research that shows that when a practice, there's a study, for example, on primary care practices, when a practice has a health coach, the stress level of the doctor, their performance improves, their well-being improves. People are also more satisfied with that practice as a whole. But we have a great problem, which is physician burnout. And so you don't want to be seeing a doctor that's stressed and demoralized and is unhappy. And that's increasingly happening, where they're saying, oh, I hate my job. Why did I go to medical school? This isn't what I thought it would be like. And so that the more that they can have somebody by their side so that they can take better care of their patients. They know that the patient can see the health coach who can really be with them on this journey. Let's say they're newly diagnosed hypothyroid and need more support than the doctor has his 7 minutes to provide. So that's really important. We're seeing more and more of that.
Goodness, is it really down to 7 minutes now? Oh,
it's getting 15 is a lot.
And it's not just the patients that are working within this system that leaves a lot to be desired. It's the doctors too. And it isn't serving anyone in an ideal way. There's just a lot of room for improvement, and I think we can all agree on that. And
because they're
at every
they want it,
and at every point in the ecosystem, from the top down, everyone's going, wait a minute, we got to reevaluate here and really start taking care of people's health, including the doctors, including the practitioners. Yeah, well, this is exciting for patients. We would love to see this happen fast. Let's make it happen.
Right.
We're ready.
And right down the street, right? Let's have it happen really quickly and close to wherever you are.
Yeah. And there's also a growing need for health coaches. And so often the question gets asked as well, do I need a background in healthcare? And you absolutely do not. How do you, what's the marker of being a good coach? You have ability to listen, empathy, to be able to really enjoy helping someone. And so often, I would say a great majority of people coming to Functional Medicine Coaching Academy have had some health issues themselves. Now you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, hypothyroid, and you now want to serve and give back this community. You want to lead groups. You want to educate others, so that they don't suffer how you did. Now, I was hypothyroid when I was in my early 30s. I had just had a baby a couple of years ago, and TSH, that was it. Okay, we'll put you on Synthroid. Well, now you're stuck there, for the and then you'll have to be on it for life, and and then to be able to inspire others to become empowered and so that is often how when you train to be a coach, you yourself find your own well-being, and people talk about that a lot, that they went through a personal transformation in the process of becoming a coach.
And that's probably very powerful, because they can not only empathize, but they can sympathize with the patient when they have their own story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, before we wrap it up today, I was wondering if you could maybe tell us what are a few takeaways for our listeners as far as if you are trying to find a health coach, a great health coach, what are like the top 3 criteria?
Okay. Number 1, you want to stay away from somebody who is going to be talking to you about interpreting labs, who's going to be telling you that go to my website and order my supplements, my protein powders. So that is outside of their scope of practice. They were somehow given the impression that they could interpret labs. Well, they did not go to medical school. They are not aware of rare medical conditions, and they can teach you about labs, but they cannot analyze your own personal results. So if they're working in a doctor's office, yes, they could say, Dr. Smith has checked this as, as this is something that is concerning and that you understand. Are you okay? And then somebody who is has their own agenda. So is trying to convince you why you need to be on a vegan or a keto or paleo, or why what you're doing is wrong and is pushing you. So I think it boils down to having a gut feeling. We all can have a sense there's no connection, but if you really feel heard, that's the best criteria. It doesn't have to be somebody with a nutrition background, with a healthcare, nursing background. We have many people who do have those backgrounds, but you don't have to have that. So again, somebody who has just a lay person can really connect with them. So I think that's the main thing, finding somebody where you really feel this connection to, and it's okay to interview several until you find one that's right for you.
Mm, great points. Yeah, it's so powerful just to be listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked recently at a gathering, try to think of all the really good listeners in your life. And people could think of like one, if any. And that's what I'm sort of hearing from you is it's about having a professionally trained listener. And that's a powerful, very powerful thing, to just feel heard and supported and not judged.
Yes.
And to say, I am going to help you get to where you want to be.
Absolutely. That's the key.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Sandy. For our listeners, you can learn more or search for a health coach at functionalmedicinecoachingacademy.org.
Functionalmedicinecoaching.org.
Oh, I'm sorry, functionalmedicinecoaching.org. And we'll put that link in the show notes for people as well. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Thyroid Refresh TV, where we give you the inspiration and information you need to live thyroid healthy. To receive your free Thyroid Thrivers grocery guide, you can visit thyroidrefresh.com. And to learn more about Thyroid 30, our revolutionary 30-day wellness adventure, go to thyroidrefresh.com/thyroid30. And never forget, you do have the power to heal, and we have the tools.
And if you've enjoyed this podcast and would like to help us continue inspiring and empowering thyroid patients worldwide, please leave us a review on iTunes and listen to our shows and download the shows. It would make our day. You are what makes this community the amazing resource that it is. We so appreciate your listenership and, of course, your support. We're Dana and Jenny wishing you the very best of health. See you next time. Bye, guys.